Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, anywhere you are in the world. Welcome to Business Analysis Simplified. I am yours truly, Ola Ofimi. Thank you for joining us today for yet another episode. In each episode, we do our best, guys, to draw parallels between a business analyst concept, idea, technique, or, whatever you might think of in the business analysis world. We draw parallels between that concept and everyday living. Because remember, we figure that if organizations are using these ideas, this concept, or these techniques to thrive, I mean, we might as well as individuals use those techniques, at least maybe the principles behind those techniques. We could borrow them, apply them to our lives, and thrive as well. So that's what we do. That's what we try to do every Saturday. Now, during the week, I share more from the professional side what those techniques are and how organizations use them. And then in collaboration with my business partner, my best friend ever. She and I draw those parallels. In fact, I'm just gonna give the credit to her. She draws those parallel between the concept and everyday living, and we share those with you so that you then can use it in your lives and be intentional. Take control, take responsibility of your lives, and use those techniques and better your life and thrive at it. So I'm gonna be going on my screen right now because I want to pull her in. Let's see for a second. So I hope you all had a fantastic week like I did. Here in this part of the world, fall, it's autumn, and all the leaves are finished dropping, if we could call it that. And now we just welcome our first snow yesterday in this. Yes, yes, yes. Those white stuff are on the ground and in large amounts too. It was
Mhm.
difficult driving yesterday. Good morning, KDO. How are you doing?
I'm fine, my darling. Good morning. How are you too?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you. So I
I
know
can't believe.
you got the first round of snow quite earlier than any other person in
Mhm.
Canada. How is that going for you?
Oh man, it's going. It's going. Well,
I saw
you,
the way you rolled your eyes. It's going like, who needs snow?
I know. The thing is, it's coming, but you just never prepared for it.
Exactly.
Like, ours
Yeah,
came on Monday, and I'm like, the cold, the snow, the slipperiness of the road, it was crazy.
I
I had
know.
winter tires on already, which is novelty because I rarely get them on before the first snow. But this time around, I
Yeah,
I did,
that's
and
a good decision.
even even we had over 200 crashes on that day in Calgary.
Ooh,
Oh, I think
yeah,
like
because people forgot.
256.
People forgot to be careful.
Yeah,
They forgot how to be careful in times like this, right? We're
I'm
used to
telling you.
summer days.
I
Mm.
mean, I say that if we had snow year round, we would be better prepared because you are acclimatized. But to go from
Absolutely.
season to season to season, it's just shocking to the system. But I'm trying
And
not
to
to
the car,
complain.
and to the driver. Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
all good.
So, I
Hmm.
was welcoming our audience and asking them how their week went.
Hmm.
And remember, in each episode, we try to draw parallels between a concept, idea, and everyday living. And I
Yep.
was giving accolade. I was giving a shout out to you that you're actually the one that drew the parallel. I just drew the business side, and then I hand it over to you.
Oh,
And
but
I
I mean, we
told
have
you.
that conversation. We keep it going. So that's all that
Yeah,
matters.
absolutely. So today's topic, let's go through it right away.
Hmm.
Today's topic is glossary.
Boring
Glossary.
stuff.
Right. So when I was thinking about glossary, I thought the adage, remember when that
Hmm.
age of adage, the adage that came to my mind was a stitch
Hmm.
in time saves nine. And then
Okay.
I converted it into something that would sound glossary like. And I said a glossary in time keeps miscommunication at bay, right? Because if you
Actually,
have a glossary, right? you minimize the miscommunication that might happen in an organization. So the way I
Actually.
started out and the way I think about it is every industry has special terminology, special expressions that are specific to them, right? Now
Yeah.
it's important for them to define those terminology so that when they are in conversation or when they're using it in a specific context,
Mm-hmm.
everyone that is in that conversation or everyone that's in that organization has a shared understanding of how
Understanding.
that terminology is being used. So a, a glossary is actually a document. It's a document that explains the terminology that are unique to that particular industry, to that particular organization, or to a project, because there are some projects that are a little unique and you want to define some terminology so that the project team members, when they use that terminology, they know what
Exactly
everyone is
what
talking
everyone is
about. Because
saying.
I was part of a,
Absolutely.
well, I think I'm still part of that project, a part of a project when someone said CIP, and I said, oh yeah, continuous improvement process. They said, no, continuous integration process. I said, oh, okay,
What?
sorry. I
CIP.
I didn't know that was a thing. And in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
glossary just went to my mind that if we had defined all of this at the beginning, I probably won't
Yeah, yeah,
misunderstand you
yeah.
as we were talking. But that's just so the example that we shared during the week was about
Mm.
a financial services company that offers various financial products. And
Yeah.
so what they did was they itemized all the terminology that they use constantly with their clients, itemized it, defined it,
Mm-hmm.
and then now spread it out with give it to all of their investment advisors, their sales teams,
Mm-hmm.
their customer service representatives, so that they keep
Yeah,
using that same terms, that same definition, right,
yeah.
with clients. Because again, what you want to do when you're using those terms consistently is that you want to build trust
Oh
in your
yeah.
clients
Oh
because
yeah.
everyone is speaking the same language.
The same
If
language.
one investment advisor spoke with me as a client, and then another one spoke with me as a client, but on different at different times, but they use the same terminology. I kind of get a
Absolutely.
sense that okay, yeah, I understand because that's how this person, the other person, to
Explained it
define
to.
it and use the terminology with me. So
Yeah.
they could use it like that to build
Mm-hmm.
trust. They could use it even with their internal employees. So when they have
Okay.
new employees, onboarding them, using that glossary helps the new employees to get ingrained into the system quickly because then they learn the
Absolutely.
language too. They
Yeah.
learn the jargon, they learn the terminology. And I think I mentioned again that another way that glossary could be useful is when you're talking, so financial industry is really regulated, highly regulated,
Oh
and you
yeah.
want to be sure that you're complying with all the regulations so that you
Mm-hmm.
don't get fines, right? So in all their written materials, in all their disclosures, in all their client communication, if they have
Yeah.
that glossary, it serves as a guide, right? Ensuring that all those have standardized terminology and they're not using things, using
Mm.
words loosely. And what they did finally, I mean, this particular financial service company,
Yeah.
what they did eventually was they upload those terminology on their website so that clients can
Mm-hmm.
actually have first-hand
Access.
information,
Yeah.
right? Information to those about that terminology, and it helps them too. So you could look at it as client education. They're
Oh yeah.
educating, indirectly educating their client, and
Mm-hmm.
the client otherwise, I mean, would know the definition of this terminology. It would help them in their knowledge of the product
Oh
and the
yes.
services that the
Oh
company
yes.
is
Oh
delivering.
yes.
So
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
how organizations use it. A financial services company particularly. Now, KDO, over to you. How do you think that we could apply it to everyday living?
I
Let's
mean,
take it.
there are so many ways, Ola. But there is one funny one that I'm going to come back to in a minute. But for almost everything we do in life, there is the language, speaking the language that your listeners will understand, right? It's about communication all over the world. Like, for instance, it's not always written. In some countries, when you whistle, it shows that you're a riffraff, you're a nobody, you're disrespectful to the public. But in some places, when you whistle, it's a sign of you are excited, you are happy, life is good. So if you go
Mm,
to a town where whistling is considered inappropriate, then there's going to be trouble, right? I remember when I first started working on this side of the world, one of the things they would say is, hey Kemi, hey KDO. I'm like, what? Why are you hey me? Because from where I was coming from, my lingo was, if you say hey, it almost looks like you are, I don't know. Yeah.
Like
So
you don't consider me as somebody. You're just it sounds
belittling me.
disrespectful somehow. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I grew up with. So when they say hey, but would you believe within the space of 1 year, KDO started saying hey to
Hey,
people too?
I know.
Because I realized that for them, it was more of a camaraderie kind of thing. And
Mhm.
I'm even talking in a work environment. So there are examples all around us. But we always try to bring humor into this thing. The one that I know will resonate with every single person, particularly people that grew up in the side of the world where I grew up, where I was born.
Yeah.
In a family, there is always that lingo. There is a way you talk, you communicate, verbally and non-verbally. There's some things that
Mm.
they will say in a home and everybody understands what mom or dad is saying and everybody begins to behave. In fact, I dare say that before I even go to that one, in my house then, growing up, there was a way my dad would press his horn when he was coming home.
Oh, really?
We all knew that sound, well, except for somebody like me that it took a long time for me to like be indoctrinated into that. It was so much ingrained in us that I remember when we were doing NYSC, I went to visit my brother in his what do they call it now, station.
Right.
And would you believe that my dad was no? So the guys were telling me that, oh, something amazing happened last week. I'm like, okay, what's it? They were like, we were all in the house in the story building. They were on the second floor, and all of a sudden there was this horn, and my brother said, oh, that's my dad, and they all looked at themselves. They're like, what?
Oh my
I'm
God.
telling
Your
you.
dad went to visit your brother and use the same style of honking to get your brother's attention, and your brother
And
got it
from the
right there and then.
second floor, he says, that's my dad. And they were like, what's your dad? He says, that's Hon, that's my dad. And actually it was correct.
Oh my God. That
I'm
is
telling you. I'm
unbelievable.
telling you. And so to the very funny one, in every home, particularly Nigerian African homes, there is a way you go out with your mom and your mom looks at you, you get what she's
Oh,
saying. If you don't
yes, you
get it,
behave. You sit up
aha.
straight
Yes, if she gives
immediately.
you one look like this, you know what she's saying.
Hmm.
And you adjust. If they are trying to give you food, for instance, and they say, oh, come and eat. You say, you look at your mom and say, take it. Take it now. You know that means don't take it. You know. And so you start, even though you're hungry, say, thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. I'm okay. You did not take it
Mhm.
because you know that there's going to be hell to pay when you get back home, right?
Right,
Now,
right.
I remember when, after we moved out of Nigeria, and then we got here, my second boy, it was like 5 when we left. Yeah, 5. So it was just like, coming into these things, and I was trying to become a Nigerian mom. So we went out one day, and it was, just all over the place. And I was looking at him and looking at him and look, this boy didn't get it.
Of course not.
Eventually,
Of course not. This is
I thought it was, there's the assumption that everybody knows. I almost thought that you were born with it because that's what I grew up to know, right? I didn't realize that somebody must have taught me
yeah.
that. So eventually, all I would do believe, are you ready for this? He came up to me and said, Mom, are you okay? What's going on with your eyes?
Oh my God. You've got a really bold son there, like
I'm telling you.
challenging you about your
Yeah.
look,
He was like, Mommy,
not
no,
getting the
no.
message, the subtle message that this is for you, you should get it. No.
But you know your friend. I can be very bold and blunt too. So I just said to him, I said, I'm looking at you like that because you're in trouble. Well, like, and all the other parents looked at me like they were shocked. They couldn't believe that I would say it out there. But I'm like, if I don't train him, who's gonna do it for me? Right?
Absolutely.
So he said, I'm in trouble. I said, yes, that's what that eyes look means. When I look at you like that, it means you're in trouble. Wait for it. Wait for it. Fast forward to the next time we went out again. And this boy was, just all over the place. And I
Oh,
gave him
no.
the look. He came to me and says, Mom, I saw that look again. Am I
My
in trouble?
trouble? like that. I'm
And I'm like, yeah, you're in trouble. And if you're asking me about if you're in trouble, it means you're in big trouble.
like, but yeah.
But he got it.
Um,
He got it after that. But it was just hilarious because I thought in my mind that everybody had that. So, like you're
mm,
saying, for glossary, it has to be written, it has to be spoken, it has to be literally taught.
yeah, 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 yeah.
There's no
Thoughts.
assumption.
Hmm. Indeed, no assumption, no
And
assumption. I
yeah.
had similar experience with my younger son, like you had to, but my one is a little different because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't use eyes. I just used my hand to pinch him a
Pinch.
little. Yeah, and
Oh
then
my
he
God.
yelled out and he said, "Mom, stop pinching me!" You know, then I was like, "Oh shoot, what did I just do?" Because pinching back home means behave,
Behave. Yeah.
behave or else.
Yeah.
But he didn't get it. Again, it wasn't taught because I didn't specifically teach him to say, if I pinch you, then it means you must behave.
But
I didn't do
though,
that, but I
Ola,
thought he should just get it. I thought he should get it,
but in
but he didn't
fairness
get
to us, we were being pinched right from the get-go. So you didn't even know when you learned it and when you didn't learn it.
it.
You
Right.
would almost think it was natural. But I want to believe that it started way early, while we're still very young,
Mm,
to the point that you're now 7. You can't even remember when you started getting the pinch, right? So it's really hilarious that you would think that, oh, children are born with these things. No, they are actually taught. So if you
yeah,
and I know that our audience can relate with this and would actually like to hear your thoughts in the comment. What's your own experience, particularly people of African descent?
right,
We use that a lot, the non-verbal, or even verbal sometimes, but opposite.
right.
Like I alluded to earlier on, you would go out and they would offer you guys food, and your mom would say, "Oh, no, 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 thank you. Well, okay. In fact, we just ate before we left the house," and your kid would be like, "Oh, no, mom, we didn't eat.
Oh,
We
you
remember we."
just outrightly say, Mom, that's a lie.
Say, no, we didn't eat, mom. Remember that we went to the store and we're just coming from there. So, oh my
I
God,
know.
that can't be me. You're literally dead. Like, like by the time you're home, mom is
Right.
gonna pounce on you. So it's hilarious. Like there's so many stories about this thing, how we communicate as people. The languages that we use, body languages in the home, they actually taught it's a glossary of some sort. In the
It is.
family,
It
it's a
is.
glossary.
Mm,
Places of worship, there are some things that the leader would say and everybody will echo because that's how they've been taught.
they've
So
been taught. Yeah.
companies, organizations, community, we all have our different glossaries, whether they are written somewhere or they're just passed from generation to generation.
I mean,
So again,
I have,
I want to,
I
yeah,
have
yeah, go
one.
ahead.
Yeah, I have one that a little, like a tiny diary like that I keep just to remind myself. Again, I haven't shared it with anybody, but
Mm-hmm.
they are kind of mine that it's
Okay.
some sort of reminder when it comes to relationships, building relationships with people and having having empathy and communicating
Mm-hmm.
love. So communicating love to my family, to my spouse. I have a little
Oh.
diary that I keep to remind myself. So that's my tiny glossary, you could call it. Some of the phrases that I should use. So
Mm-hmm.
things like using I instead of you. So for instance, if and this is me taking responsibility for my
Mm-hmm.
actions because again we all have to take responsibility for our actions. For
Absolutely.
example, if my spouse is communicating with me and I don't get it, as against saying you are confusing me, I should say I'm confused because if I say you're confusing me, I have transferred the responsibility. I've
Ability to
shifted the
him.
responsibility to him, which again
Absolutely.
might cut across as if I am attacking him, and
Yep.
then he might attack back. So as
Mm-hmm.
again say, you're confusing me. I say I'm a little confused. Could you help me?
That
So I,
that is better. All
I
that, but if you say, what are you even saying?
yes, yes. Or you say you're not making any sense right now. I'm like, oh my God.
Ooh.
That alone can just snowball into a huge conflict. And for the
Mm-hmm.
next 3 days, you don't get
You're
to
trying
talk
to
again.
you're trying to resolve that.
Yeah, you become isolated.
No, but
Right? So
really,
I
yeah.
keep little phrases or the reminder for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a glossary, simple glossary, even in verbal expressions, because I tell myself, if indeed I love my boys, if indeed I love my spouse, and I expect them to know,
Mm-hmm.
right? Don't I expect? I
Mind
expect them to know.
mind
They should know.
readers.
I do all of these things for you guys. You do know that I love you, but I don't even open my mouth to tell them. So
To
I
verbalize
remind
it.
myself, right? Verbalize your
Verbalize.
expression.
Yep.
Verbalize.
Yep.
So I say,
Yep.
I love you. Even to the tiny details as hugging, hug them. I remind myself. So I put it on that little note to help me build my relationship every time. So you could borrow that if you want. I'm talking to
Yeah.
our audience, right? So that it's like a constant reminder to build your relationships and to make it stronger.
Yeah.
That's my own tiny
No,
glossary that I use
no, but
every night.
it makes mega sense, Ola, honestly. Whatever works, that's why I say to people, whatever works for you. We're gonna be different, right? There are some people that for them to be able to call their parents, call their friends, they have to put a reminder on their phone, literally. But there are some people that they do it like clockwork. They know. Their brain just reminds them and they do it. So whatever works. If you have to put it on your phone as a reminder, by all means do. It's not a crime. But I mean, back to the topic, glossary, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Even in an organization, if somebody, like you're in a meeting and they're talking about something, and because you thought they were talking about something else because of an acronym, you're going to open your mouth and speak, and then you feel like, oh my God, I just disgraced myself right now. And it might actually lead to alienation. Like you might stop talking in meetings for like a whole month, right? And I'm
Yes.
like, okay, who knows now? If I open my mouth, how am I going to come across? So
Mm,
it's important that we're keeping abreast of what glossaries are or what individual glossaries for whatever wherever you find yourself. And if you're a parent, African parents especially, please, and you're in the diaspora,
mm.
children need to be taught this our body language, verbal and non-verbal communication. They are not born with it. That is, I learned that hard and fast. You've got to teach them. You were taught. So don't just be blinking your eyes and blinking and blinking and blinking. You might end up blinking for for the whole evening, and the boy or the girl is clueless.
Right.
But I know it can be a bit uncomfortable to sit down with children and say, so when I blink like this, it means I'm I'm saying stop it. And they'll be like, okay, mom, what's this?
I know. I know.
Yeah. And again, the thing is, some of those things, when you teach them in public in Africa, nobody is looking at you twice. In fact, it could be your neighbor that would, whap your child on the head and be like, what's wrong with you? See how you are eating with your mouth open?
You
Or you are
mean
talking.
back home?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
the community train your child for you. You don't get to train them all by yourself. Like
Yeah.
your neighbor's neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
everyone is part of that child's development
Exactly.
experience.
Your child is walking on the street and she's dragging her foot or she's wearing her slippers. Somebody will scream at her that, look at you. Don't you know that your mommy spent a lot of money to buy that shoe? See how you're wearing it. But in the Western world, nobody is going to do anything for you. So it's that's another layer of responsibility that parents that move to the Western world have to face. I mean, we're not talking about migration here right now, but I'm just saying that if you're in the diaspora, you need to know that you're going to teach your children, teach them what pinching means if you have to pinch them, teach them what it means to look at them and give them the stare. They need to know because no child is born with it. And as a community, we all have this glossary. So if you're going to be able to, fit into that community and be a productive member of it, you've got to learn the language. You've got to learn what something means and in what context, right? So we have no choice. It's just all around us. So organizations are smart enough to know that we need to put these things in black and white so that everybody's on the same page. So as people
Absolutely.
too.
Yeah,
Mhm,
sorry. I just got
mhm,
a light bulb
mhm.
moment just now when
let's
you were
let's go.
saying that. Yeah, so when it comes to family values and
Oh,
beliefs,
oh yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah.
So another thing you could do is to, highlight those values.
Mhm.
Maybe you could even put it on
On
the
the
fridge so that
Yeah,
everyone
knows.
knows that
Yeah,
in
they know
this
what we're
family,
talking about here.
this is what we value. In this family, this is what we believe. And that becomes the family language, right? You got to treat people the way you want them to
Want to be.
treat you.
Yeah, yeah,
That's,
yeah,
that principle of reciprocity, right? We
yeah.
put it on the fridge so that everyone knows that
Everybody
this is what we
knows.
value in this family. This is what we believe. This is our
Absolutely.
culture here. It's a constant
Mhm.
reminder.
Yeah,
Mhm.
actually, and that is really key in whatever, like as a family unit. If we're going to train and raise productive members of the society, we've got to put something down for them to work with. Like again, the same way nobody knows, all these languages unspoken in the home you're taught, the same thing, values are taught. If you don't teach your child, they won't know. They
Absolutely.
will not know. They will not know what it is. They will not know how things are. Again, sometimes, I mean, it's a whole different kettle of fish. How parents and children relate in the Western world. And then how once a child is 18, you kick them out of the house, they start fending for themselves, blah, blah, blah. That's not our culture. So I had to teach my child because literally when they go to school, the boy was just what, then 9. He came to me one morning and said, Mom, is it true that once I'm 18, you are kicking me out of the house? I'm like, where did you hear
Oh,
that from? I said, in
wow.
school. I said, no. I said, but he said, that's what happens. I said, yes, it happens in some climate, in some society. But we Africans, we don't kick our children out. We help them to, find their feet and be okay, but we don't kick out. In fact, the analogy I used for him was that we as a family, we are 6 o'clock people. We take care of our children, we take care of our parents. 6 o'clock. That's who we
Mhm.
are. And we're like, oh, and I could see the comfort in him that, okay. But while now he's 16, I don't know. Maybe
And
all of that is changing. He can't
he's
wait to
probably
leave.
the one saying, I can't wait to be 18 to get out of the house right now.
But there is comfort in knowing that you're cared for, you're protected,
Right.
right? So glossaries are important in the family. Let your children know what the lingo of the family is. Let them know. Train them. That's the only way they will not depart from it, right? So again, I'm going to encourage our audience, if you have any funny story about raising children, like
Like to
trying to
hear
give
it.
them the eye, pinch, and whatever your experience is, let's know, share it with us. And I mean, it would be nice to just have some giggles together.
Right.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we've shared a lot this morning, and we gotta go to our next business.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we want to remind you, for those that are still deciding or trying to decide if business analysis is for you, if it ever crossed your mind, it's because you know
Mm-hmm.
that you could achieve it. We have our training ongoing. Feel free to join any of the classes right now before the year ends. DM
Yep.
KDO, DM myself. We'll do a little bit of hand holding. We'll give you all the tools that you need to to hit the ground
Mm-hmm.
running, and then you become a business analyst come 2024.
Ooh,
2024
let's
is not
go.
kids, guys, it's not kids, right? So take those action right now. Decide promptly and then
Mm-hmm.
act on it. Yes, remember, we always encourage that you have to embrace the magic of intentional living. Nobody is
Absolutely.
going to help you live your life. It's your life, and it's
Mm-hmm.
one life, and you
You
got to
gotta
be
live it.
intentional about it.
Gotta live it. All
Okay.
righty. Cool.
Okay, this is us wrapping wrapping
Yeah.
this episode this week, and we hope
Mm-hmm.
and encourage you to join us for the next episode of Business Analysis Simplified. Until then, bye bye.
Bye. All
Take care.
right. Bye.